This is a tough one. I've really been enjoying Dragon Ball DAIMA so far, but this was the first episode that I thought was a bit of a miss. Now there's some cool stuff in this episode, such as some Dragon Ball GT references, and we'll pull up the Akira Toriyama artwork that looks absolutely gorgeous and clear references throughout. One thing I want to say though right off the top, like I said, I don't think I enjoyed this episode, which if you've been following my channel, if you've been following the reviews, you know that I've basically enjoyed, for the most part, every episode. This was the first one where I think a break in between episodes probably contributed to this feeling of just, we're back and nothing really important happened. There is one important thing, and then some people are saying that it feels like filler. It's not filler. Filler is, of course, a concept where you actually have to have source material, and then you artificially space that out with new anime-only content. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. This is not filler. This is all original, so it's not filler. It may feel like filler, but it's not necessarily filler. So, let's just go ahead and go play by play, and then I'll give you my score at the end. And then we'll talk about next week's episode, because that's exciting. I'm thinking Super Saiyan 3 Goku. We could have GLORIO betraying the crew. We'll see how that goes. So, we'll get into that speculation at the end. Anyway, we see Goma telling Degasu, disable Warp Sama. Now, Degasu says he's never heard of anybody disabling Warp before, which is interesting. That really lets you know how desperate Goma is. So he's never faced anybody like this. And Degasu, we don't know how old he is exactly, but he's obviously never heard of anything like this either. And we know Degasu, Supreme Kai, aka Shin, and Dr. Arians, who have been around for a long time, so this is definitely a first. We've heard of them disabling the gateways, the literal physical gateways through the Demon Realm, but to do this means that they're basically stranded here. Now, is it a permanent disabling? Is it just a temporary disabling? I'm thinking it's temporary, but we'll get into that. So I really wanted to take a look at this room here. It looks very cool, very mysterious, very different, and I think that Degasu is a bit conflicted. Now, how conflicted is he? I'm not sure. I think he's feeling like he's on the wrong team. He's saying, why do I have to do this? And then we see Warp Sama basically passing out. I don't know if disabling means that he literally dies temporarily or not. And then Degasu is shaken. Now, I have a couple opinions on this. Again, this is like the only thing of consequence in this episode. And I don't want to say that the rest of the episode is filler or inconsequential entirely, because I do think every moment is a good moment to basically build on the characters. And I think there are some important things in here with GLORIO that we're going to get to. But in terms of Degasu here, I think he doesn't have much of a moral compass, because we've already seen him, basically steal Dende and chop Popo. So I think what's going on here is he is realizing that he's on the losing team, and he feels like he's pretty much screwed. I think this is just a dismantling of his psyche, because he knows he's backed into a corner with Goma. So they are basically now stuck in the first demon world. I understand. And then, of course, we get into some more repetitive storytelling. I wasn't like broke up about the fact that the ships or the planes have been getting destroyed every so often, because it was normally leading to some interesting storytelling. This is the first time where I was like, okay, another crash landing, but it didn't really go anywhere. Like, the ship just randomly busts, and then boom, we fall. Now, I do want to say that Akira Toriyama, I think, was engineering this series to also be a bit of an entry point to newer fans, like Akio Iyoku was saying. So throughout the episodes, they've been explaining things from Dragon Ball or Dragon Ball Z. Like, here's Bulma saying this is a Hoi Poi capsule. So in case you've never seen Dragon Ball, you get an explanation for what the capsules do. I thought that was fun. I wanted to talk about that here. And then, of course, you have Neva saying this is the planet of Mega. Now, what is Mega? Apparently, it's just like a planet of giants, which is interesting. It's the second most terrifying planet in the Demon Realm. And of course, the most terrifying planet in the Demon Realm, we later find out, are even bigger giants. Now, I think the thing that I found boring about this episode is that a planet where the entire concept is they're giants is okay, but it wasn't really enough to really make me excited about the lore there, if you want to say. I mean, I wasn't really totally impressed. He says even the Supreme Demon King and the Gendarmerie never approach here. So these are very powerful giants. And of course, we later find out that they don't get involved in the affairs of the demon realm because they're laid-back species. Are they laid back? I guess so. I guess you could say that that giant was more poking around and checking things out. And he was unwittingly causing our heroes a lot of damage. Now, Dr. Ironsu corresponds with GLORIO and basically confirms that she has all 3 Dragon Balls. However, I do think there has to be a betrayal. I don't think that GLORIO is going to keep Dr. Ironsu from using the Dragon Balls. I think a good plot twist would be that she actually does use the Dragon Balls. But what I think is that that's not going to do anything, because even though he betrays her, maybe she already has Do and Ku and ends up, just defeating GLORIO anyway. Now, you didn't get much of Do and Ku this episode. In fact, none at all. I think I really missed them. I think I really missed their comedy this episode. We also figure out some of the power source. This is the Modulite. It powers everything. They went ahead and explained where it comes from and all of that stuff. So Modulite, that's a new power source that we'll probably be seeing more of in Dragon Ball DAIMA, at least. The giant hamsters were fun. They were cute. But again, this goes along with what I was saying in my, in the beginning of this episode. This episode was just okay. Like, the hamsters are cute. I definitely think that there should be a lot of fan art of these hamsters. I want to see, like, our heroes, like, I thought it would have been funny if you could tame a hamster and ride on it through the demon realm, like fun stuff like that. But like, what function do these hamsters play in the story? Well, they introduced the giant. So Goku doesn't want to hurt the hamsters. Vegeta doesn't care. He kind of blasts them a bit and makes them fall back. And then they all run away, and we see this giant here. Now, the interesting thing about the giant, which causes the hamsters to run away, is that this giant and I think this entire panel, I guess you could say, this screenshot, this animation cell, whatever you want to say, is a pretty clear reference to this art by Akira Toriyama from Dragon Ball GT. Now, a few years ago, I got into like going back and looking at Akira Toriyama's art throughout the years and see how he's progressed, and because it was around the time of like, people complaining about how Dragon Ball Super Trunks is a bit thinner, and honestly, it's just Akira Toriyama's style changing, and I went through and I saw this and I was like, wow, Akira Toriyama was popping off. Now, you actually see another reference to this artwork later in the episode whenever the giant pokes at the plane with a stick. Here's the giant poking at their spaceship with his finger in Toriyama's artwork. And here they are hiding behind blades of grass and a bottle. Same thing here. So, again, fun GT reference, and I think this episode was basically just a Dragon Ball GT episode. And I mean that. This really evoked the same feeling of Dragon Ball GT. And I went ahead and screenshot this from the wiki. Monmasu is a planet where everything is 10 times its normal size. The planet and the giant that live on it were designed by Akira Toriyama, and we, of course, looked at that there. So this was from Dragon Ball GT. Now, it's been years since I've seen Dragon Ball GT, so for Akira Toriyama to reference it, it's like, is he referencing it, or is he just reusing the idea, kind of like how he did with Broly? I think it's more of the second one, where he's reusing the idea. But again, you can also say it's a double-edged sword, and by reusing the idea, he is referencing it. So let's move on through the review. They are basically saying that, Vegeta was struggling with the Kraken, Goku was struggling with the Kraken, the giants eat the Krakens. So, with that being said, these are very, very powerful creatures. Now, we don't know where they compare in terms of Dragon Ball Super power scaling, because, again, this is post-Z before Super. But it's interesting nonetheless. Now, whenever I said that Degisu was the only important thing that came from this episode that I think has a far-reaching consequence on the plot, I corrected myself and said, actually, that's not true, because I think this will. So you see GLORIO a little bit outmatched by this dog creature giant thing. Vegeta punches it, and GLORIO looks a little bit surprised. And again, I think this is going to play into my theory. I do think that we are going to see GLORIO redeem himself. He's going to have a change of heart. He's going to ally himself with Vegeta and Goku and everybody else because they're constantly saving his skin. Not only that, but they are powerful. So, a couple ways you could look at this. Either GLORIO is going to betray Dr. Ariansu because he has a change of heart genuinely, or he betrays her because he sees that there's no way that they are going to be able to defeat Goku and Vegeta. So, that's one thing. And then, of course, we see the dog creature go after the plane. And then Goku hits it with a Kamehameha. And it's not looking good for the dog creature thing. And then again, of course, I wanted to screenshot this. This is the reference to that artwork I was talking about, the giant poking the plane. And then I thought this was fun. The ruler and the power pole. And, of course, you know, our heroes make it out in one piece. Thanks, because, you know, Goku takes care of the giant. And then, of course, Piccolo and Vegeta are distracting the dog creature. And then Neva talks about how the adult Megaths are even more terrifying. And then we see the other school children who are proportionally more like adults. But again, maybe the adults are like this tall, you know. And proportionally, I think that they could have done a better job with having more childlike proportions. But again, you know, different species, different anatomies. It's not too crazy. Now, they did try to do this sweet thing where they try to, like, evoke some feeling from you. Like, make you think the Demon Realm is something special, where Piccolo's like, that's the Demon Realm for you. And Goku's like, yeah. And he's got a little smile on his face, and it's supposed to evoke some feeling. But honestly, like I said, I want to tread this, you know, review carefully and not upset people that genuinely enjoyed this episode. But honestly, I'm not going to, like, sit here and say I was a fan of it when I wasn't. I don't think this episode was, you know, good enough to warrant a strong emotional reaction from me at this line of dialogue. It just wasn't. Like, that's the Demon Realm for you. Yeah, all these powerful, like, there's so many powerful giants. How impressive. Isn't that amazing? So much power here. No, it really didn't do anything for me. So, we'll go ahead and talk about the next episode, but overall, I got to give this episode a 5 out of 10. Now, a 5 out of 10 means it's not bad and it's not good. This episode just didn't do anything for me. Now, did it do anything against me? Yeah, maybe a little bit. So I could give it a 4 out of 10. But it was animated really well. We had some nice animation sequences with action. So that really bumps it up to a 5. But I do think we are running out of time in the series. I think, like, all of these slow episodes for the first half of the series was fun, exploring the Demon Realm and the Third Demon World and getting to know GLORIO and getting to know Pansy and, you know, having Vegeta show up. Like, all that stuff is fun. I liked it. But especially, like, the stakes are rising. The pace is picking up with, okay, we got all the Dragon Balls. Let's go to the First Demon World. Let's beat Goma. Let's make a wish. And then, boom. You have this episode. So what makes it feel like filler for a lot of fans, and I see where you're coming from, even though it's not filler, but I understand where the sentiment is coming from, is that last episode we got some action, we got, you know, Tamagami 3's defeated, we got, you know, Majin Ku and Majin Du and Dr. Ariansu have the Dragon Ball, GLORIO's got the Dragon Ball in his possession, and, you know, everything's coming together, and Dr. Ariansu has a Dragon Ball. It's pretty big. And then you just got a bit of a slower episode that is supposed to do some lore building. It's supposed to build on the world of the Demon Realm and make you think, wow, how expansive. But at the end of the day, it didn't feel that expansive to me. It just felt like we could have skipped this. But again, we didn't. You know, that's not what we're doing here. We're not skipping it. You know, this is there. Like, I'm trying to think. The only purpose of this episode, because every episode has a purpose, the only purpose of this episode must be this. It must be Vegeta saving GLORIO, and GLORIO, again, just all of his instances where he's already seen how powerful everybody else is, he's still surprised by how powerful they are. So I'm thinking that has to be the reason why this episode was necessary. I didn't love it, but I do think it was necessary. With that being said, a 5 out of 10. I really tried to be, like, responsible with my language, I guess you could say, because I know some people in the comments don't really like whenever you're a bit too critical. They also don't like when you're a bit too praising. Trying to strike a balance, and I think I struck a balance in this review. 5 out of 10. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on to the preview, which I think sets up a far more interesting and thought-provoking next episode. So, of course, we have what looks to be a gendarmerie character, as you can see from, the design. But is this something else? Is this like a more powerful gendarmerie that's going to present a challenge to our heroes? That could be cool. Maybe along the lines of a coup or a do. Who knows? We'll see. Then, of course, I'm not sure what this is. This could be Goku turning Super Saiyan 3, but our heroes are pretty surprised. So this could also be, again, we don't see a GLORIO reaction shot here, so this could be GLORIO betraying Goku, maybe striking him in the back or something, and then everybody else is shocked. Or this could be this new character doing some sort of electricity thing. Who knows? So whenever we're talking about speculating on the next episode, I don't want to say like, oh, Super Saiyan 3 Goku, because, again, there's no way that Super Saiyan 3 Goku would elicit this reaction from Piccolo or Vegeta. It has to be something really surprising. So the only thing I can think of is GLORIO using his lightning, so that could be it. And then it looks like Goku, if you just look at him, he looks like he's been fried, so I'm thinking it's got to be either GLORIO using his lightning on Goku and then everybody's like, oh my goodness, or it's this new character having some sort of lightning ability and, they're teasing this new character. Who knows? And then, of course, we have Pansy alarmed. It looks like she's looking at Goku, but if you look carefully, the portal to the first demon realm is right here. So they're going to learn that they can't use Warp Sama, and they're going to have to use the portal. And of course, we know the portals are closed down, or rather, not necessarily the portals are closed down, but the barriers, So they are going to have to access the barrier in some way, the portals, to go to the first demon realm. So it looks like these are the portals. How they're going to use them whenever they're off limits or they're shut down, we're going to learn if they can or if they will. But as you can see here, I don't know if she's looking at Goku because he's falling, it looks like, into it. And then it looks like she is either below it or something. So a little bit confusing, but I guess we'll see how that works. And then that was the end of the episode with a shot on Goku. So some people are saying, what's going on with Goku here? Is he going to access a new type of power? Super Saiyan 4? Speculation's already crazy. I don't think so. I think this could be our first look at Super Saiyan 3 if he's being overpowered by something, kind of like how Vegeta went into Super Saiyan 3 once he was getting a little bit overpowered. And of course, here we have the red character for the next episode, Taboo. So, all that being said, the preview for next episode is looking exciting. There are no leaks about what happens next episode, which is cool. So, honestly, like I said, a bit of a slower episode, and the preview is a little bit more exciting, especially this guy. I like that they're still introducing new characters this far into the series. He could just be like a runt that gets dealt with quickly by Goku or somebody, but I like the red face paint, so I'm hoping this guy is a bit more of a intimidating villain than just a regular gendarmerie. Again, he's got like the black thing, like the black headgear and stuff, so I'm thinking he's like a high-ranking gendarmerie or something like that. Not sure, but I guess we'll see. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this video. A bit of a slower episode. And, like I said, it's not filler necessarily. We've been in worse situations with Dragon Ball in terms of filler. Again, this isn't filler, but, in terms of slower episodes that don't do much in the plot. Again, I think the purpose of this episode just has to be the world building that they wanted to establish, but also this moment here. I think this is going to pay off, hopefully. And, again, decent episode. Like I said, animation was good. Animation was on point. This was the best shot of the episode. It was good. It was a well-animated episode. I mean, one thing you can't say against Dragon Ball DAIMA is that every episode is bad, because it's not. You can't say that. Every episode is not bad because every episode is animated great. Now, you could have a greatly animated show and then have the plot be really bad. But to me, when you're talking about anime, if it's animated great, but the plot is bad, that's a 5 out of 10. If it's animated bad, but the plot is great, that's a 5 out of 10. That's how I'm thinking of it whenever I'm doing my ratings on these things, if that makes sense. Anyways, guys, that will be it for this review. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you leave a like, comment down below. And if you didn't agree with any of my opinions, let me know. I definitely welcome opposing opinions. I hope I navigated this landmine of conversation clearly. Because again, I have been enjoying the series. I've been loving it, but I'm not going to lie to you and say that, oh man, this was an amazing episode. I really loved it. You know, we got a lot more world building, a lot more lore. Like, nah, not necessarily. And I'm not the only person that's been thinking that. I've seen a lot of other people talking about how this episode was a bit slower. And not only slow, but the lore wasn't consequential. Like, we've had slow episodes, but I've really enjoyed them because we got the origin of, you know, the Namekians from the Demon Realm. We got Shin's name, you know, like slower moments, but they were like really big character moments for our characters, for the lore, for the species, for the demons. This one was just like, yeah, there's a planet of giants and they're really powerful and they eat the Krakens. Okay. Not really, not really like exciting for me necessarily. Didn't really touch anything like my Dragon Ball heart in terms of like, oh man, this is Dragon Ball. This is what Dragon Ball is all about. Like I said, it was a bit GT in the sense that they tried to make it adventurous, but it fell short of what made the OG Dragon Ball adventurous. It wasn't as special as they thought it was, if that makes sense. Hopefully, I communicated clearly enough. Anyways, that will be it, again, for this episode. If you enjoyed, leave a like, comment down below. Subscribe if you want to keep up to date with all things Dragon Ball news and commentary. And I will see you in the next one. Peace off.